Alright, now if we notice our spirograph over here, we can see that the lines on it are actually not straight. They're bent. So how can we draw bent lines on this? Well, we can use loops. So if we go ahead and we get our sprite here and we just create another simple loop, we'll repeat it 5 times, and we, instead of making a straight line, which is what this move 100 steps block here is doing, we can say something like move 30 steps. So that'll be over 100, but that's okay. And after each 30 steps we can say, well, we'll turn about 15 degrees. That sounds good. And if we go ahead and run that, we'll see that the script actually, instead of making a straight line, it makes a curved line. That's okay, because that's exactly what we want in order to create this spirograph right here. As you can see, the lines are not straight, they're bent. And the same goes for our turns here. The turns on our initial script, they were hard turns that created hard edges on our spirograph. If we run this, we can see that I'll run this again. No. There we go. We can see that our edges here are very pointy, and that's not particularly good because that's not actually how the spirographs are made. So if we go ahead and we also break that down into something that progressively gets curvier and curvier, we'll see that it can actually make the curve much smoother than what we had. Let's go ahead, let's say move, let's say something like 5 steps, and each step will turn clockwise, let's say like 22 degrees. If we go ahead and run this one first, and then we'll run this. Whoops, we have the wrong turn over here. There you go. Now if we go ahead and we run this first, and then we run this, we can see that the line of the spirograph is not straight, it's curvy, and this one, the turn, is actually much smoother and much more realistically looking than what we had. So if we just go and snap this in our loop over here, we should have the same effect as we had with only these 2 statements. Let's see what would happen. As we can see, the spirograph is being drawn, and it's much slower than before because the complexity of the spirograph went up several times, because on each of this big repeat loop we're doing 2 small repeat loops. So these 2 statements here are being executed 5 times 90 times, which is 450 times, and the same goes for these ones inside here. As you can see, the spirograph that this new algorithm forms, is much more realistically looking, and it's just overall much nicer than what we had before. We can go ahead and tweak this to match our needs. Say something like turning 17 degrees, and we can move something like 6 steps, and run this again and see how it just creates these different spirals. Anyway, it's a pretty cool little tool. I hope you enjoyed it. Next video we'll see how we can make this a bit more complex to make some more cool looking spirographs. I'll see you then.